Today the temple management has requested further description of the grand opening because we didn't get to cover much yesterday. So I tried to put everything now for the first time in chronological order so that we know what happened each day and how Srila Prabhupada carried through with this wonderful grand opening. So this is the painting that Bharadraj painted that was on the back of the Back to Godhead magazine that Prabhupada chose. And then from that painting, their lordships were created. Now, if everyone looks behind you, you see that plaque up there? Yesterday during the Abhishek, maybe you noticed that we were carrying in one very old lady. Did everyone see that? That was Gita Devi Saraf. She's now 87 years old, and she stays. You're all welcome to go visit her. She loves devotees, and she loves receiving prasadam. The disciples of Radha Govindadas Goswami are taking care of her now. She's completely dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. One time she was crying to me. She took me to Rishikesh. And on the way back, she grabbed my arm and she said, "Teach me to speak English." And I said, "Gita Devi, you're an old lady. Why do you want to learn English?" And she said, "I want to preach like Srila Prabhupada preached." So this is her mood. So what you do is you go past NRI Greens, and there's Katiya Baba Ashram. There's a little lane. You go in there, and that's the home of Sri Ballabha Das, disciple of Radha Govinda Maharaj. And she's staying there. They have about 10 cows. It's perfect Goloka Vrindavan. All you have to do is step off of the VIP road. So Prabhupada made this plaque as soon as Gita Devi gave the donation of the land that we're sitting on. And previously, we had a front wall here. In the early days, nobody made high walls. There weren't that many monkeys. There weren't that many people. And the walls weren't going to stop the thieves anyway. So we just had a small wall, and Prabhupada put the plaque in the wall right at the entrance of the temple. And next to it he put, and this is what he insisted on, he put a place for the cows to drink water. Because every day, so many cows would come out of the town and go to graze in the Ramanreti area. This land also, this used to be grazing land for the cows. From Sonrak, they would bring their cows, and under the tamal tree lived a very ferocious bull. And he wouldn't let anyone come onto the property. So Prabhupada, he told the devotees at Radha Damodar, you go every day and start having kirtan there. And once they started walking every day from Radha Damodar and having kirtan, the bull on his own left the land. And then we were able to start the construction. All right, so next we have, for those of you who didn't see her yesterday, this is Gita Devi Saraf. Please visit her. She loves devotees. Now, just above us, Prabhupada made this plaque. These were the main donors. We had 3 teams. One team was Gurudas and Jamuna. And Prabhupada, he told them that they had to collect everything to get the deities carved and all of the deity paraphernalia and the dresses and setting up the kitchen. That was the first team, the inside temple team. The second team was the construction team, and that was led by Saurabh, Gunarnava, and we'll see Bishrambar Dayal, Bhagaji. We'll hear about them later. And the third team was the Namahata that was led by Guru Kripa Swami and Yasodananda Swami. And they were given permission to collect for the Vrindavan temple for the construction. Prabhupada gave them a quota. Does anyone know what the quota was? $100,000 a month. Yes. Somehow or other they had to come up with $100,000 a month.
Which means $1 million now.
Yeah, it's
Probably $1 million a month now.
right. Yeah, that's what it would be worth now. And somehow or other, by hook or by crook, they got that money to Srila Prabhupada. You'll see, even in our samadhi here, there's the, you'll see this very famous picture of Srila Prabhupada on the Ratha Yatra cart, and Guru Kripa Swami is standing right next to him, and Prabhupada's very happy. So Guru Kripa had just handed Prabhupada a $100,000 check. So that's the three teams. They were all working together. They all needed each other's help, but we all know how intense Vrindavan is. Now, as soon as, see on this, it says March 13th, she donated on the 13th of March, 1972. On the 13th of March, 1972, Prabhupada was doing the Bhumi Pujan for the Mayapur temple. As soon as he heard that Gita Devi agreed to donate the land, he flew here. We heard about that yesterday, how like a ringmaster, he brought the whole Kachahari to Gita Devi's house in Govindabag, and Jamuna, with her calligraphy, she wrote the deed, and all of the officials signed and sealed that deed. The next day, Prabhupada had the Bhumi Pujan here, just behind where the foundation of the temple is, where the deities are. So, this is Srila Prabhupada, very makeshift. And they had, of course, Ananta Shesh that they placed into the ground. We have several pictures. Prabhupada's in a very happy mood. And this is Kiradakshai Vishnu down in the pit to put everything. At that time, he was the overseeing president along with Guru Das. This is the architect from Delhi that made the original plans. The temple kind of looked like a matchbox. No windows, nothing like what we have here. So because Prabhupada had to have something, he accepted that plan, the foundation was made, and we heard yesterday how later, because Prabhupada wanted these 3 domes, that foundation had to be altered in the middle of the night for 2 weeks. Surabi oversaw that all night long to get the foundation made. So this is the original single foundation of the temple. Prabhupada is putting the first cement there. Now he's very pleased. And then all the devotees went away. And that night, our neighbor who wanted this land, she sent gundas, and they dug up the Bhumi Pujan area, and they desecrated the area, and they stole the Ananta Shesha. But that didn't stop Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was used to having enemies. He explained to us many times, once you start preaching, then Maya is going to object. Why should she let anyone out of her clutches? So Prabhupada went on despite that, because signed and sealed, this land now belonged to the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. This is the Brahmachari ashram. There was a wall where we have the accounts department, where Balaram Hall used to be, where Krishna Hall used to be. That belonged to the Kemkas? Kedia. That was the Kedia land. And they had offered it to us, but we never had enough money to buy it. So there was a wall dividing the temple land from the Kedia land. And the Brahmachari ashram, which consisted of 3 rooms and a kitchen, was built along that wall. This is the kitchen. And this is Srimad Bhagavatam class. There's our temple president, Guru Das. And very few devotees were able to tolerate the austerities of living in these conditions. So it was just a real skeleton crew. We had, show you, this is our temple. We were worshiping Panchatattva until the deities were installed. This is Mangal Arati time. This is Guru Das giving class. Everything went on despite the inconveniences and the austerities of living like this in a construction site. This is the back of Srila Prabhupada's house. You'll see, if you go into Prabhupada's garden, you'll see his door, his windows, and Prabhupada's house was only partially complete, but it was the only building on the whole property that was constructed. So everything went on in Prabhupada's house, along with where the devotees lived on the side here. Prabhupada himself, as soon as these mud huts were built, he insisted on staying here. And he used to put a plank of wood out in the front, and they would bring Prabhupada a plastic bucket, and he would take his bath out here in front of the rooms. So it was quite austere, and this is the way we all learned to live in these early days. And that's probably why the devotees from those early days, they're very resilient, because we had to accept a lot of austerity to live here, right? That behind is the construction of the temple going on. This is where the old deity kitchen used to be, and this is the windows. You see the basement windows. This was Saurabh's brilliant idea that we would have a basement, and there we would keep all of the deities' paraphernalia. Of course, as soon as we had a basement, because nobody had basements here in those days, the locals, they made up a lot of rumors about what was going on in those basements, because we also someone had a radio, so they would hear that radio with foreign language. So this added to the fuel of all the rumors going about. What were those Angrezi doing here? This is prasadam time. And you'll see here on the right, this is, we called him Anand Maharaj. Anand Maharaj, he was the cook of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And when Prabhupada was traveling with the devotees in Orissa, he offered his services to his godbrother, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada took him up right away, brought him to Vrindavan, and he was our mother and our father and our auntie and our dadi, everybody all combined in one. He used to climb up trees and get medicines for us. And according to how much service you did, you see, he had his servers. According to how much service you did, that's how much he allowed the servers to give you prasadam. So one devotee once complained that, look, you're giving Guru Das so much prasadam and you don't give me anything. And a nun told him, that's because you don't do anything. So who could take that austerity? Here he is filling up Guru Das's plate. We loved him. Everything done. No running water. We only had a well here. By Krishna's divine arrangement, although all the water in Raman Reti is salty from the gopis' tears, when we dug a well, it was sweet water. And all the locals, that confirmed to them that there's something very special going on here. So we would have to go and draw water from the well. And we had one water boy named Shankar. He had a stick with 2 buckets. He would bring us water for the kitchen. Just perfect Vrindavan life here. No kitchens, no tabletop, no stove even. You see, he would make the stoves. with the boti, no knives, everything perfect Braj style. This is the front of Prabhupada's house. The room where we now have the book table did not exist. It was a veranda, and there were steps going up. And if you go out of gate number 2, just across the road, you'll see these same windows of the Dhanuka ashram, because we didn't have the wall built yet because of all the construction going on. And then Prabhupada sent Guru Das a message one day, you have to build a 12-foot wall. So that meant more expense. So the 12-foot wall he had to build, you'll see it's still existing. There were columns made with cement. And then the bricks in between, that was all with mud. And then we had to cover it with plaster, because everything had to be done with all of the construction going on and the time consideration, money was very short. This is Jamuna. Thanks to Jamuna and her hard labor to get the deities carved, get the deities brought here, and get all the paraphernalia and set up the kitchen. So we're very grateful to her. This is the very beginning of the construction. You'll see here the arches of the Darshan Mandap being put up. And these are the columns on the side over here. And we used to watch the mysteries. There was a whole hierarchy of mysteries. And on the top of the hierarchy was Alabux. He lived in Kishorpura. And he had all of his Muslim workers doing the construction work. And there was one class of the mysteries who were Hindus, and they did all of the design work. And you wouldn't believe how they did this design work. All these beautiful columns, it had nothing to do with no CAD programs, nothing. They would take a sheet of metal, a thin sheet of metal, they would lie it out on the dirt, and Ramji Lal, the head of the mysteries, the top class mysteries, Ramji Lal also designed our help with our samadhi. Ramji Lal also made our deity kitchen. He made our BBT go down. So Ramji Lal was the only one amongst the mysteries who is still present with us now. The others have all gone back to Godhead for all their service. But so they would lay down this chadar, and he would just draw right out of his brain how these columns should be. And he wanted them to have the effect of Ananta Shesha, you see here, holding up the columns. So that's what this design is. That's Ananta Shesha, right? And then the peacocks and the elephants, he designed all of that. And the top class mysteries, they did the cement work. Now Prabhupada wanted the temple to be pure marble, but there wasn't enough money for marble. So what Saurabh did was, he took marble chips. Underneath this paint, if we tried it one year when Shrestha and Devaki Nandan were sent here to be temple presidents, we took all the paint off of the temple, inside and outside, because there's a whole color design. The columns are red, and the inside arches are a deep blue, and there's yellow, red, blue, yellow, and cream. And the whole temple was pre-colored with marble chips by adding color into the cement of the marble chips. So this is how Saurabh was able to fulfill Prabhupada's desire of having a marble temple. He made a marble chip temple. And when the paint wears off, it comes off sometime from the water, you'll see the color underneath. We tried it, we removed all the paint, but because it was so old, the marble chip had cracked, so we had to put the paint back on again. Here, the temple is coming up. This is the door by Gaur Nitai. Now, Prabhupada had a plan. There, you know, on each side of the altars are two stairways. And there's an apartment on each side. Right now it's being used for the head pujari's office on one side. On the other side, I don't know what it's being used for. But what Prabhupada's plan was that the head pujari, he would live in the temple in that room with his family. Prabhupada allowed three classes of women to stay here. The wives of the devotees who were doing service here, the wives of sannyasis, and widows. So Prabhupada he wanted that the head pujari would stay upstairs in that apartment, and on the other side was a very elaborate arrangement for the pujaris to live. There was a shower, there was everything so that the pujaris could live there and immediately be present to do their service. They just had to come down the staircase. It did happen for some time, but not for long. Now this is the inside, the courtyard coming up. They have received now all the marble, the white marble so far, for the floor. So this floor was very mathematically designed with all of these pieces. Now it's very hard to get this black marble anymore. But in those days we were able to add the black and the white together with this beautiful design. And in 1974, when Prabhupada was going to have that grand opening, the floor had been laid, but it hadn't been polished yet. And still Prabhupada the first thing they made in the temple was Prabhupada's Vyasasan, so that he could come and give classes. So in the evenings, Prabhupada would sit on his Vyasasan, and we would sit on the unpolished floor. And he would look to see who was in the audience. And if someone was missing, he would ask for them. Where's Jamuna? Oh, she went to buy sabjis. No, everyone has to come to classes. Where's Pradumna? Let's be down. Where's Pradumna? Oh, Pradumna's doing his deity worship. No, you can't do deity worship during class. Everyone has to be present. So Prabhupada, there were only a handful of devotees, so Prabhupada would notice every single person who was not present in his classes. Can you imagine? One day, I was running for Mangalartik and someone locked the gate, and I had to climb over the gate to get in. And Prabhupada, he would watch out of his windows who was coming to Mangalartik and who was late. So after Mangalartik, Brahmananda, he came to me, he said, Prabhupada wants to talk to you. I said, oh, I'm in trouble. I was 2 minutes late for Mangalarti. So I went into Prabhupada's room, and Brahmananda was sitting there. He said, Prabhupada noticed that you were late for Mangalarti today. And I explained to him I had to climb over the gate, and I tried my best. He didn't take it. He said, just like, excuse my French, just like when you have to pass stool, you drop everything and run. That's how you should come to Mangalarti. Yes, that's Brahmananda for you. But you'll always see me in Mangalarti, because once you get chastised by Prabhupada, if he even takes the trouble to chastise you, it means you better follow it for the rest of your life. Like Shrutakirti, he wasn't allowed to go to Mangalarti. Why did you go to Mangalarti? I was ringing the bell for hours, right? We have different instructions for different devotees. Yeah, you're still trying to write it. We noticed. This is Gunarnava. So Gunarnava, he used to do some bricklaying when he was a young boy. And Prabhupada, he was canvassing all over the society who has had any experience with construction. So Gunarnava and Smartahari, they both volunteered. Smartahari had no experience whatsoever, but he wanted to come to Vrindavan. So they came here, and Gunarnava became the right-hand man for Saurabh. Now Saurabh, he was the tough one, the tough cop. And Gunarnava, he was the soft one. So Saurabh was so tough because he was the one who was getting yelled at all the time and beaten by Srila Prabhupada. And he had to make sure that everything was on time. The first time, 1974, when Guru Das was writing to Prabhupada that, yes, everything's ready, you come, we'll see the pictures. Saurabh didn't know what Guru Das was writing. So then, when Prabhupada came and he was disappointed, then the whole brunt went on to Saurabh. That, no, I want no excuses this time. It better be ready. You told me 8 months, I'm coming. And this time Prabhupada was coming with 1,000 devotees. In 1974, there were only 300 devotees here. And the invitations hadn't been sent out. So here they are. This is the construction team. Saurabh, Gunarnava, and this is Bhagatji. If you just turn the corner here, you'll see a little sign that says Nitai Nivas. So Nitai Nivas, that was Bhagatji's home. And Bhagatji, when Prabhupada came here, Bhagatji fell in love with Srila Prabhupada. And he became Prabhupada's right-hand assistant. He was a retired college principal, highly educated, knew English perfectly, knew the whole Vaishnav Siddhanta. That's why he named his house Nitai Nivas. Worship Shalagram, everything wake up at 2 in the morning, chant 1 lakh, do his puja, everything very nice. So Prabhupada assigned him to be the general manager. The fact of the matter was that he was the only person who knew Hindi in the entire compound. So everything had to bottleneck through Bhagatji. So when Saurabh was getting tough on the workers, you got to get this done. One time we had an electrician. Now our electrician is still here, Anwar in the guest house. He and his brother Raman, they were the electricians for this whole temple and the guest house. So his brother Raman, they kept adding more and more things that had to be put into the guest house, and the budget wasn't there. Of course, Saurabh was pushing him so much he had to do it. So one day he went on strike, and he said, until you give me more money, I'm not going to work anymore. So Saurabh couldn't take it because he was under so much pressure. So we had the well there. He picked up Raman. He took him to the well, and he hung him over the well. He said, if you don't get this work done, you're going down there. And then as soon as he put him down again, Raman ran. He fled. And then Saurabh realized, well, maybe I was a little too tough on him. Now nothing's going to get done because he ran away. So he was sleeping that night. They had the cement, they had to all guard the cement and everything at night. All of a sudden, the next morning, the whole family comes to Saurabh, falling at his feet, crying, saying, please, don't let him die, don't let him. And Saurabh didn't know what was going on. It turned out that night, Raman's son had fallen off of the roof and hurt himself very badly. And they thought that Saurabh had put a jinx on the son. So Saurabh, he said, everything's all right, just send Raman back, have him do the work, and nothing will happen to your son. This is how the temple was built. So when Saurabh was too hard with the workers, they would go to Gunarnava. You see, he's very soft, he even looks soft, very soft. And then Gunarnava he would find a way to soften up Saurabh. He would go to Bhagatji. Bhagatji would talk to the we had suppliers here all over. No, these are good people. I know, I work with them. You have to help them. So without him, we could have never gotten this temple built, for sure. Now, even before the temple was constructed, this is the, if you can see here, this is the, when they put the marble down, but nothing's polished, the cement is still there. These are the steps where the 24-hour kirtan now sings. Prabhupada, one night, he was just so happy to see the temple coming up. I had brought a plastic, I don't know why, but when you're in America, you don't know what to expect. In India, I brought this plastic sheet thinking, well, if nothing else, I can sleep on this sheet. So when they saw I had this plastic sheet, they confiscated it and they put it down for Prabhupada and he went and sat on it. So, everything belonged to Krishna here. This is Chatikara Road. Prabhupada taking his morning walk. See, we were sitting yesterday on a slightly bigger chair. Actually, really, it was not much bigger. What is it, 10 feet across? Enough for one tanga to go back and forth all day. So we would get off from the bus at Chatikara, the tanga would take us here, and no rickshaws would come out here. It was much too far, and there was nothing else out. They couldn't, if they dropped you here, they couldn't get back. And the rate was 1 rupee. 1 rupee to get out here. So when Prabhupada would get back from his morning walk, he would oversee the construction with Mr. Lahiri and Mr. Ghosh. They came from Bengal, and they were overseeing, they were the architect contractors, you know, the, what are they called? Anyway, the contractors. So Prabhupada would be in close communication with them. You'll see on Prabhupada's, behind Prabhupada's left shoulder, there's Vishnu Jan Swami and Anand Maharaj. Now, because Prabhupada's room was the only place in the whole temple that was completed, in the evenings, Prabhupada's godbrothers, Krishnadas Babaji and many others, the Goswamis, Prabhupada's friends from Radha Damodar and Radha Raman temple, they would all come to see Prabhupada, and he would enjoy their company so much. And then in the morning time, we would have Srimad Bhagavatam class there. This was the story that Satyanarayan Prabhu told yesterday when George Harrison came to visit Prabhupada. Now, this is 1974, when Guru Das had told Prabhupada everything is ready. You can see the temple looks quite ready if you don't look at anything else. So when Prabhupada came in the gate and then came out of his house and went to see the condition of the temple, he immediately realized that the temple wasn't ready to be open. So we didn't even have doors on the altar yet, and the carpenters were still working here in the courtyard. So on the left-hand side, that's Nalini Kanta. He was just here a few days ago. And because he was just visiting, and all of the Indian leaders, when Prabhupada said, what should we do? Nobody dared say anything, because anyone who said anything, they knew that they were going to get in trouble. So Nalini Kanta, who was just a visitor, he said the obvious, that Prabhupada, it looks like we can open the temple now. And then Prabhupada took all of his leaders into his room, and everyone was so frightened. Then Prabhupada, he called Jamuna. Jamuna, what is your opinion? And Jamuna said, well, even if we open the temple, we don't have any devotees. We don't have any pujaris. We don't have any cooks. We're going to have 14 deities, and who's going to do all of the service? So that was the end of it. Prabhupada decided, all right, we have to postpone. And then he asked Saurabh, how long will it take you? We explained this yesterday. Saurabh calculated. The guest house at that time was a 20-foot deep hole. That nothing existed in the guest house whatsoever. And Saurabh, because most guest houses, you didn't have guest houses here, you had dharmshalas. They were 1, maybe 2 stories high. But Saurabh, coming from a nice European background, he wanted to make something splendid. And he decided to make a 4-story guest house. It was the tallest building in all of Vrindavan. And he didn't want to make it like a box. So you'll see he very carefully designed everything in the guest house so that every window, every veranda would get sunlight. And this is also how the Gurukula was designed, so that every classroom gets sunlight either in the morning or in the evening. Because here you have to have sunlight to live, also because we didn't have electricity a lot of the time. So Prabhupada then decided, this is the entrance, the main entrance here, because Kashi Prasad Saraf did not allow us to do any construction. We had all of our go-downs there. In the whole complex, construction site, we had one small generator. That's all we had. The electricity was almost non-existent, so we would use that generator to run the cement machine, to run the electricity at night when there were 300 workers working here in those last 8 months. So that one generator was the only source of power that we had. So this was the beautiful fountain that we had. Prabhupada's coming in from his morning walk. He would come exactly on time every single day, in time for greeting the deities. Of course, there were no deities in those days. In time for Guru Puja and class. And this is, what is this? Yes, Prabhupada. When Prabhupada began to get sick, because he was under a lot of pressure, because he had been inviting people for the last year to come for the grand opening, and now it was going to be postponed. So this is when Prabhupada began to fall into sickness, apparent sickness. He started the 24-hour kirtan. Harikesh actually started that. Where Prabhupada's library is, it used to just be a slab of cement. So we had our 24-hour kirtan there, because there was no guest house, and the temple was not complete, only Prabhupada's house. So we would all do 24-hour kirtan there on that slab. Now, but still Prabhupada would give his classes every day in his room, and we would all sit there with him. Now, although the temple wasn't going to be open, some dignitaries had been invited. And this is the first governor of UP that came. He came even though the temple wasn't going to be open. His name was His Excellency Ali Akbar Khan. So he came and graced the temple. And yesterday, Shruti Kirti was describing that Prabhupada was so weak. Even after he put his tilak on, 2 minutes later, he asked if he had tilak on. And I used to watch Shruti Kirti. Anytime Prabhupada had to go anywhere, Shruti Kirti, under Prabhupada's armpits, he would have to hold him up and walk him like that. So that's how Shruti Kirti brought Prabhupada. You see Prabhupada sitting here next to the governor. Prabhupada had 104 fever, and still he was a gracious host to the governor, and he stood holding the back of his chair, and he gave a lecture for 20 minutes, thanking the governor, explaining how this is a non-sectarian temple. People from all countries, all classes, all backgrounds, they're invited here to come and worship the Supreme Lord. So this is very appropriate, the fact that His Excellency Ali Akbar Khan had come, because he, being Muslim himself, still he came to help with the opening of the temple. So now, meanwhile, in Jaipur, Jamuna and Gurudas were going regularly to oversee the carving, and they had called Bharadraj to come from Mayapur. He was making sure that all the carving was going on nicely. Bharadraj, we explained yesterday, how he saw the big blocks of marble and he would watch them according to their shastric proportions, manifest each deity. So this was Balaram, and this is Krishna. This is Gaurnitai. Now, when the deities came from their lordships, Prabhupada, he chastised Kishori one day. They're not the deities. They have names. So their lordships, we say. they were painted whenever they send murtis, they always pre-painted them. But all the deities stayed in Prabhupada's main room, and we stayed with them because we had nowhere else to stay, and we were doing their sewing and getting them ready for the grand opening. So their backs were to Prabhupada's windows, the 3 windows. And each day Bharadwaj would come and he would paint the deities, repaint them, ISKCON style. And the Brijbasis would come to the window and they would bang on the screens and the grills that we want darshan. But the backs of the deities were to them because nobody wanted the deities to be visible until the grand opening. So this was a great disappointment for all the visitors. And this is Murlidhar. This is 1975 when he painted the Vyasasan. Now the temple was ready, a jewel. Prabhupada, this was the original heaven on earth, and Juhu was the second heaven on earth. So Prabhupada was beaming. He was so happy when he came in 1975. This is the Mayapur temple, the Mayapur festival. 1,000 devotees came that year, and we had a family picture. This is Prabhupada in the center. Yes, 75. Yes. And ladies up on the top, as usual. And all the sannyasis on either side of Prabhupada. So they took this picture just before the Mayapur festival ended. And then the interim time, because we know that from Gaur Purnima up until Ram Navami, that's it's like 2 weeks. So they made an arrangement that there would be a Pandal program in Hyderabad. So this is Achyutananda Swami welcoming Prabhupada to that Pandal program. And Shruti Kirti sent us, and Prabhupada sent Bhavananda and his crew, and we were sent to get Prabhupada's house ready. As we explained yesterday, this is just you can see it all visually today, what we were describing yesterday. We thought we had a week to get the whole temple ready for Prabhupada, and he arrived that evening. So we had to work. You never saw such cooperation as that day, when we had to bring their lordships into the temple, thoroughly cleanse the whole temple before bringing them, get the kitchen set up, get Prabhupada's house all in order, so that when Prabhupada walked in that gate this time, he was going to be happy. So when Prabhupada did come, then the governor came, Governor Mari Channa Reddy. Prabhupada already knew him from Hyderabad, and he was an admirer of Srila Prabhupada. So when Prabhupada wrote him a very gracious letter inviting him to be the chief guest, he accepted. And this is Saurabh giving a tour of the guest house. Now, in the place where we have our restaurant now, that used to be the devotee prasadam hall. Dari Bhaksha was describing that yesterday. And there were rooms. Now those rooms are attached to the brahmachari rooms. Rooms number 2 through 7. But we had rooms there, and those were the offices. So one of Prabhupada's, not godbrother, but a disciple of Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj, he was an army doctor, Dr. Verma. And after he retired, he built a house right exactly in front of the Janmastan in Jagannath Puri. That's what that area is called. So when Prabhupada found out that he was present here, he invited him and his family to come and stay, and they were the temple doctor. So they stayed for some time with us and did service here. Now, Srila Prabhupada had to find the right Brahmins to do the installation. And he was offered 2 groups. One, Yashodananda Maharaj had found in South India, and they came here to get interviewed by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada was satisfied with them, what they were going to do, and at the end of the interview, Prabhupada invited them to take prasadam, and they refused. When they left the room, Prabhupada said they cannot do the installation because they do not accept us as Brahmins. And therefore, if they do the installation, they will claim that this temple is theirs, and they will insist on taking all of the donations from the temple. So he rejected that group. Yasomati Nandan, his name, Brahmin name, is Joshi. So here in Vrindavan, we have some Joshi Brahmins, Purohits. And the most famous of them was Bhimsen Joshi. So he came, Prabhupada invited him, and Prabhupada interviewed him. And Prabhupada was very satisfied with his mentality, with how he was going to do the installation. And he invited Bhimsen Joshi to take prasadam. And he accepted prasadam from the devotees. So therefore, he was invited with all of his crew. Here in the courtyard, they set up little kutirs. And in each kutir, the deities were placed, and we see all the time when they set up the kumbhas and then the kalashes and the coconut on top, they make the deities for the puja. So he set all that up very nicely, and each day the deities were being moved from house to house to do the different types of puja. And because Prabhupada was the yajyaman, he was the leader of the sacrifice, they would call Prabhupada from time to time to engage in the different forms of puja that had to be done. You'll see Prabhupada very grave in these pictures. Right behind Prabhupada is Saurabh. So they're both taking part in the puja. And the Bhimsen Joshi did not object to a foreigner taking part. Now this is to Prabhupada's left shoulder is Mr. Pathak. Mr. Pathak was he was a humanitarian who lived here. He built the Vrindavan Gardens, which is, it still exists, a beautiful ashram. And his vision was that we should make Vrindavan as beautiful as it was when Krishna lived here. And he tried throughout his lifetime, because he was a local Brijbasi Brahmin, he tried to uplift the standard of the temples and the municipality so the Vrindavan will become clean and beautiful again. But whatever he did, he failed. When he met Srila Prabhupada and saw that Prabhupada had an army of hard-working devotees who would do anything to please him, he decided that this is the one person who can save Vrindavan from deterioration. And he was Prabhupada's one of his main supporters here. He says that it was he who convinced the Sarafs to give the land. Anything to help Prabhupada, he would do. And it was true what happened. Because once our temple was open, and our temple was spotlessly clean, and everything was exactly on time, you couldn't be 1 minute late for Srila Prabhupada in anything. And punctual, and all excellent prasadam bhog being offered, the cleanliness. So all the other temples, seeing that our temple was on such a high standard, they started to raise their standards as well. Whereas before it was just a family business. You take care of the deities, they get somebody throws some coins, you use that for maintaining your family and like that. But it all changed after Prabhupada opened this temple. And the temples began taking care of their temple, bringing up the standard. Now we see what has happened. So here's Prabhupada engaging in the yajna. So the day before, April 20th was Ram Nomi. I have to go fast. This is the Sobha-yatra. You'll see the elephants, you'll see the junkie that the deities were on. Prabhupada was supposed to sit on the palanquin, but Prabhupada got off and insisted on walking with all the devotees. And he walked all the way. you can see that this is the road. What a magnificent procession it was. Were you here, Bhima? You were here, yeah. Until dark, Prabhupada walked. And then Prabhupada went back and the devotees continued the procession all the way to Govindaji temple and then came back very late at night. Now finally, this is Ram Navami Day. Prabhupada is coming out of his house with the governor. And here, now after all of the puja being complete, their lordships were brought up to the Darshan Mandap. And right at that spot, the Maha Abhishek was performed, and the Prabhupada was in his room. The Brahmins, they sent in a message that we need a big piece of gold to take the wax off of the eyes. And Prabhupada said, I've tolerated everything, but no gold. So they had to do it without gold. After the deities had their abhishek, just like yesterday we saw, after the abhishek, the curtains are closed, the deities have to be cleansed, redressed, bhoga is offered, and then the arati. So after the deities went into their home for the first time and were put on the altar, they were dressed, and one pujari per deity. The best pujaris in the whole movement, each one took a deity. And the little deities were done downstairs by the women, secretly. So while the doors were closed, Prabhupada had a big program right at his Vyasasan here with the governor, and you'll see all of his entourage, all of the policemen. And the governor was speaking so highly of how Prabhupada had really brought the whole world together at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And it was a wonderful, glorious time. And then Prabhupada had some of his Hindi-speaking disciples speak. And then Prabhupada entered. And he offered his obeisances to the deities. And he started the arati. And Shruti was by Prabhupada's side the whole time, handing him the articles. And Prabhupada told Brahmananda, you stand at the curtain and make sure no one touches that curtain, because Prabhupada wanted to be the person to open up the curtain for the first time. So we have here pictures of Prabhupada offering all the articles to Krishna and Balaram. And we also heard a few days ago that the top book distributors were the other two pujaris, although they didn't know how to offer the arati. And whoops. Oh no, what to do? Okay. Then after the arati, Prabhupada did something spectacular. He came out. You see, Anwar and his brother, they had made fountains in front of the altars. And there was water sprinkling. It gave a very nice cooling effect. So Prabhupada came out and he gave a talk. And he said, everyone is invited to this temple. There are no restrictions whatsoever. This temple is for the entire world. Don't believe what you've been hearing. These are all Vaishnavas. They're pure. They've engaged in, and Prabhupada was proclaiming to all of the hundreds and hundreds of visitors who came that this temple has now, the deities have been properly installed. Everyone here in Vrindavan has accepted that now the worship will go on by my disciples, and you please all come and worship the Supreme Lord here. And then Prabhupada, he took darshan, and just after that wonderful arati here in the courtyard, they had the first drama of the slaying of Jarasandha. And after the drama, everyone just jumped into the courtyard and had an ecstatic kirtan led by Brahmananda Swami. Then Prabhupada and the governor, they made their rounds because prasadam was being served everywhere, inside the temple, all the way up to the road, over at Dandi Ashram, everywhere. So Prabhupada was he was examining with the governor that everyone was being fed nicely. And then Prabhupada took the governor into where the library is now and fed him. Behind Prabhupada's head is Shri Telephone. We had one telephone, and the number was 178. Remember?
Couldn't call
No, it never worked, but you're right, it was there. And the wires were there too, see? The wires were everywhere. Oh no, I did it again. Okay. So then Prabhupada, because Mr. Channa Reddy was going to spend the evening, they had wonderful talks together about Varnashram College, and here Mr. Reddy was they made special prasadam for Mr. Reddy, and before he was allowed to take it, his guards had to taste test everything to make sure we weren't poisoning him. Now, that evening, Prabhupada was ready to welcome all the guests, and oh, he was so happy. Everyone came. These are all the Goswamis from Radharaman. They were coming to congratulate Prabhupada. And in the temple courtyard, Prabhupada arranged that the Har Govind Rasalila group came. Prabhupada really liked them. He wanted to take them all over the world. Next day, Yadubara arranged that all the devotees again assembled together, and we have another family portrait together. So the men are all by Prabhupada, the women are all up on the roof. I'm in the kitchen. Didn't get out of the... Believe me, I never saw any of this, nothing, because as Shruti and Smarhari were both explaining, we were given assignments. We didn't know what was going on other than what we had to do. And that was why I got all these pictures, because I never got to see anything the whole time. Like Shruti said yesterday, he got up, he sat here and he said, "Where was I? I didn't know what was going on," because he just had to concentrate on Srila Prabhupada. And I had to concentrate on feeding Srila Prabhupada. Then, for the next 5 days, it was Ram Nomi, and then Dasami, Ekadasi, went on until Chaturdasi. Prabhupada had special speakers come. They were speaking in Hindi, and Prabhupada would translate. And they were speaking from the Shastras. How? The Kiratas, the Huns, everyone from all the slokas from Srimad Bhagavatam. How everyone has the right to worship the Supreme Lord. And they were glorifying Srila Prabhupada so much for finally fulfilling the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is Prabhupada with Vishwambar Goswami, the father of Padmanabh Goswami. He was the mayor of Vrindavan at that time. This is Prabhupada's godbrother, O.B.L. Kapoor. His name was Adi Keshav Das. And he was glorifying Prabhupada so much. Then Prabhupada, every morning, every evening, he would come and take darshan. This is at Gaurnitai's altar, offering his dandavats. Prabhupada would give his classes now. The temple was packed full. This is Prabhupada coming back. Our GBC at that time, we didn't have many temples in India. We had one GBC, Gopal Krishna Das, and he was of course, our GBC here at that time. He was the GBC until Srila Prabhupada left this world. So he would accompany Prabhupada. There was one of our temple presidents, Dhananjaya. And we have, these are the outfits, the outfits of Krishna Balaram Radhashyam Sundar that they were installed in, made by Kishori. This is a close-up of Radharani. And then on Baladev Ras Purnima, Prabhupada had a Mahayagya. He initiated many, many devotees. Those of you who know Nirguna Mataji, she was initiated on that day. So many devotees got initiated. You can...
I got initiated.
You got initiated? First initiate? Second initiation. Yes, and Gaur Govinda Maharaj and Tripurari Maharaj, they were given sannyas on that day. Very big event. Achutananda performed the sacrifice. The Gurukul students, they had come here from Dallas, Texas. Prabhupada was initiating the young boys. because we needed pujaris. And here's one of the Gurukul students offering the arati. We were in dire need. That's why those of you who could understand Dadi Baksha, they just, okay, on the altar. That's the way it was. Our chokidar, Balaram Das, he was a chokidar for the guest house. He was a local Brahmin. Prabhupada grabbed him. He said, you go in the kitchen every day and make chapatis. They don't know how to make chapatis. So he would make the chapatis every day, because we had to have 8 chapatis per plate. We had 10 plates, 80 chapatis every day. And finally, Balaram, he got initiated. He became Krishna Balaram Das. Sorry. Here's Prabhupada on one of his morning walks, his lectures. This is Gopal Krishna pointing out all of the improvements. This is our restaurant. The restaurant was where the conference hall is now. And this is the beautiful temple. I just have some pictures of the deities, and then we're ready. Here. So we have the original concept of Krishna Balaram, and now we have their lordships being so beautifully worshipped. And we thank you all for dedicating your life to Krishna Balaram's lotus feet. Hare Krishna. Any questions?
What happened to those 6 liberties?
Yes.
What happened to them?
They disintegrated. Well, they were made out of, and on special occasions they would be brought in to the altar. So then when it wasn't special occasions, they were just neglected. So we made, now we have, that's the ones you saw at the boat festival. We made smaller versions because now they can be taken care of nicely. They were beautiful.
Who was the head pujari?
Narottam. Nobody wanted to be the head pujari. They couldn't enlist anybody. It was too austere here, and the summer was coming. So Narottam, he was with Bhagavan in France at the time. So, and he was a pujari and a cook as well. So they asked him, and he first took permission from Bhagavan, and he actually wanted to stay here because he wanted to learn the proper rituals and the standard according to Vrindavan temples. So he stayed here until he wanted to take a second wife. And he wrote to Prabhupada and took permission to take a second wife. And Prabhupada said, if you're thinking of taking a second wife, you should leave Vrindavan immediately. So that was the end of his pujariship. And then after him came Drupada. Then Drupada was here for a long time, and after him came Turyadas. Omkar came after Turyadas. Yeah. After Turyadas, then came Omkar. After Omkar, I think, came Purnachand. And since that time, Mukunda Datta Prabhu has been here. Mukunda Datta Prabhu ki jai. Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Jai.